Good evening. How's everyone doing?
Great.
Great. ¿Cómo estás? Good. Muy bien. Well, I'm glad you all are here tonight. My name is Dr. Kalfani, the director of the Africana Institute, and we're excited to bring to you this opportunity to talk about a man whose music that I love so much. But before we get there, I want to bring greetings to you on behalf of Essex County College, the Africana Institute, and our president, Dr. A. Zachary Yamba. Thank you for joining us here tonight. That we are here, reflecting on something that the presidential election that we hear of tonight, that we heard of yesterday, rather, that is one of the reasons why Fela did so many things that he did, and we're going to get into that discussion shortly. But I want to, as we move forward in this event that the Africana Institute is doing in partnership with a wonderful sister and organization that has been doing great things in the city of Newark. And so I want to bring this sister on, who is a great partner and friend of ours, Sister Donna Walker-Kuhn. She is the Vice President of Community Engagement, and I thank her for partnering with us to make this wonderful event happen today. Thank you. Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you so much. You know, we love partnering with ECC. It's just great. So we're really happy that you came out tonight. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking, but, you know, the role that we have with New Jersey Performing Arts Center is to really work with our local community. And so we don't do things just inside the building. We like to go outside. And so we do things that involve dance, and involve jazz, and involve readings, panel discussions. So what we're doing tonight is part of who we are. And so I wanted to just invite you, one, to enjoy tonight's dialogue about Fela, who's someone that I love as well. And I had the privilege to meet Fela in 1977 when I was a dancer with Festac in Lagos. And he was incredibly kind and generous to the dancers that I was with. We went to the shrine. We had quite an experience then. And then, you know, I wanted to also make sure that you all come to see the actual concert, which will be next week on the 16th. And we have a 50% off offer, which you can pick up the flyer at the table. And just know that this concert is all part of our Moody Jazz Festival. This whole month of November, we're presenting amazing performances by all kinds of different artists. We have a James Brown concert coming up. We're going to be playing all the music of James Brown, and then we're going to have a big party in the lobby of Prudential Hall. So you're welcome to come to all of that. So check out our website, see what things that we're doing. We want you to participate. We do it for you. And so with that, I'm going to turn this back to Dr. Kalfani, my partner in crime, and have a wonderful evening tonight. Thank you.
And as you prepare to come next week, I want to just put that in context for a second. And that is the event that is next week, is really a mirroring of an amazing show that happened in New York. And it was some of the cast from there. I don't know how much of the cast is going to be there. It's about half of the cast. There was a play that was on the life of Fela. And it was absolutely, it was spiritual is the way I would describe it. And if you want to get something close to that, I invite you to come out next week and make sure that you come to hear the concert. Also, I want to let you know that this is a two-part event. We're going to have this amazing panel discussion now. You're going to see a short documentary clip, and then we're actually going to invite you to come and see if you can move your feet to Fela's music. We have a DJ coming, and then we're going to have the music of Fela playing. That's Afrobeat, for those of you who don't know. We're going to have some Afrobeat music, or he would just say African music. There was African music that is going to be playing, and it is the phenomenal music. Some people liken it to house music, but it has its own rhyme, rhythm, and reason. So we're here today to reflect upon this event that we're with is called Fela, the Music, the Movement. And so as we're reflecting on the music and the movement, Fela was someone who I would suggest to you was a great person of understanding music and understanding how to infuse politics into that music. And that if you listen to the words and hear the names of the songs, he had one song they called Water Has No Enemy. And so that if water doesn't have an enemy, that you think about that is that of course water doesn't have an enemy. Without water, we don't exist. He had another one called ITT, was International Thief. And so that all these different songs and things that he brought to the table helped us to understand the way and the rhymes and reason of music. And if you look all throughout the various themes of music, you see that those things happen over and over again, right? That the music is the momentum behind the movement. And sometimes it's in front of the movement. So we want to begin to push and think about how we change the world in which we live by music and develop an agenda. And W.B. Du Bois said that any art that's not propaganda is not worth its time. That's a paraphrase, but what he was saying is that when we engage in artwork, whether it's dance or music or paintings or photography or whatever it is, sculpting, that it has to be about an agenda, that it has to be about thinking about and pushing towards change. How do we change the world in which we live in if we don't do the basic things that need to be done? And that is to conscientize people and to wake up the soul and the spirit of folks. And so that soul and spirit waking up is one of the things that Fela was about. And that his vibrancy of music, the music, the energy of the music would touch you, and you'd be wrapped up into it, moving around. Then all of a sudden, he's talking to you about some politics. And in fact, his lyrics might not start until 15 minutes into the song, or 8 or 9 minutes into the song, and then he finally gets into the words, and you're like, oh, well, I didn't know. I thought this was an instrumental song. No. That's part of the rope that Fela used to pull you in and let you know that we've got to think about the things that we're doing different. And so with that said, we're going to push into the brief screening of our film by Brother Edward Jaheed Ashley. And do you want to introduce it, or you want to just play it? He's going to introduce. Let's give him a round of applause. We're going to do some more welcome. We'll give you more background in just a minute. But he's the filmmaker. He's a filmmaker who resides in New York, rather. We invited him to Newark. It's all right.
The Black World.
That's right. And he's the director and producer of award-winning film documentary Fela NYC, Fresh from Africa, which chronicles Fela, his visit to the United States and to New York in particular in 1986. Once again, y'all like that?
Yes.
All right. Let's take a round of applause. So with that said, let me invite Brother Edward Jaheed Ashley up to the stage. Please join us. Let's give him a round of applause. Once again, he's a filmmaker from New York City. This documentary that he did, he has been employed by ABC TV, HBO, and Waldorf Astoria Hotel, and to do
That's enough, bro. That's enough.
Okay, all right, you good. The rest of it is in here.
Those are white companies, okay?
Okay, all right, there you go. So then we also have Babalao Oluwo Ifakunle Adetutu Elagbada. If we invite him up to the stage, he's Babalao here in New York. He's known as the Babalao of Harlem. He's met Fela. He is an African Orisha practitioner, a professional performing artist, a father, and a master chess player. I have to get him on the board one of these days. But let's welcome them both, and then we're going to, and myself, I'm Dr. Kalfani, the director of the Africana Institute. Thank you. And so we're going to have a dialogue about what really is going on here with Fela, with his music, and why the music is important. Why the movement is important, especially at a time like this. Maybe even the thought about what music should you all be making today, or other artists. What is the music that they should be making? I want to start off though with Brother Edward to ask him, why did you make this documentary?
Good. Thank you very much, brother. Thank you. I made this documentary because I lived in New York, and I knew Kwame Olatunji and Baba Olatunji's father, who knew Fela. Fela was coming into New York, in the mid-'80s. I was doing a lot of videotape work, which was advanced at that time. This was shot on high 8 and VHS tape, very low-level format at that time, but we were in fact capturing it. Because Fela was here, we went and met him, he realized that we were the same type of people at the Countercultural Republic, and we became very close. And I became his personal video photographer in and around New York City. He was here for about, a month, doing interviews. Again, this was like 1986. He had been in prison as a film city. He'd been in prison in 1984 on trumped up charges. Fela, he lived in, I don't know how much background you need to know, but Fela had lived in London. He had a lot of money in the bank in London. He went from Nigeria to London to get his money to come back to Nigeria to get his band to come to the United States. This was his money. But there is a rule that you can't take money out of certain countries. But this was his money, English pounds, sterling pounds. So he's at the airport with his money. I keep saying his money, but they stopped him because of they are the government. Their dislike for Fela, he was always a thorn in their sides. So they stopped him and prevented him from coming to the United States on these trumped up charges and gave him 5 years in prison for currency violation. He spent 2 years there, which was therefore 86. Therefore, it stopped him from coming to the States for 2 years. When he came to the States, then we embraced him and got along really great and moved around. And the film is about his experience in New York City. So it was an opportunity, plus it's the preservation of black art, African art that is much needed, documentation, and that had never happened before on this kind of cultural, political level.
As you see classes transition, we have classes that come and go, so you may see some more transition as we go through the evening. But I want to think about that in terms of Fela's, and both of you can answer this. When you think about Fela's involvement both politically and spiritually, you know, in the play they showed a lot of his, that he had this spiritual base that was kind of the reasons why, some of the reasons why he looked at things the way he did. And we think about he says in the video here that he's Pan-Africanist, right? And so that at his core, that idea, the movement of Pan-Africanism was important to him. And so how do those three things, the Pan-Africanist, the politics, and the spirit, work together to give us some idea about the music that he had and he brought to the table? Bob, you want to start?
Sure. I mean, greetings everyone, first of all, and I want to thank the Africana Institute as well as all the partnerships that has brought us here tonight. Really thankful. I just wanted to say that, yeah, I actually poured libation at the play, and also I was actually at his house for moments while Fela was here in '86. Was taken by Kwame. Kwame had taken me over there and was grabbing. So it was just really interesting. So we're just talking about culture, first of all, really about culture and religion, and really about the spirituality, and him including the spirituality. It was very interesting because when I was at the shrine in Nigeria, you looked and I was expecting to see something really large. I mean, because coming from an African perspective here and coming and dealing with the local me community, they had this whole sense of shrines and enshrining things, and they were very large. And when I went there, I was like, okay, so where's the shrine? You know, take me, I want to see your shrine. And he was like, shrine, okay. And he walked really quickly, and he came, and we went, and he pointed down, shrine. And I'm looking to the right, and I'm looking to the left, and you know, the spirituality, his little shrine was very small. It wasn't very elaborate. This whole idea of this big thought, I was going to think, you know, see statues and, you know, all these different kind of icons and stuff like that. So the spirituality, it's a driving force for his music. The spirituality that you would find that he was, you know, the inspiration that he would be using to be able to connect with the music. and drawing on a lot of that Afrobeat, the African sense of what the music was coming from the culture of the people, the traditional cultural people. So some of that, the background of that music and the rhythms and some of the polyrhythms that he was doing, I mean, particularly in the early works of Fela, was so complex. And then he had to then kind of dumb it down and make it a little bit more simpler for people to really digest. Wouldn't you agree?
I would. Fela was a very complex person. Spiritual man, political man, but in his essence, he was a political organizer, not a musician, not an artist, a political organizer. He used his music to organize and to protect the underprivileged, the downtrodden, the oppressed people of Nigeria, and therefore a symbol throughout the world. In his essence, a political animal. He organized two parties. The first party was called MOP, Movement of the People, which is an adult organization, and also YAP, Young African Pioneers, for the youth organization, the Area Boys. Again, he was not just, they talk about his hedonistic lifestyle, smoking a lot of ganja, a lot of sexual escapades. This was because he had been sort of influenced by the West and trying to synthesize the West and the East in Nigeria. In '69, Fela came to the States, came to New York, and went to Los Angeles. And in Los Angeles, he did not get a great reception here in New York or in Los Angeles, but he met this woman, Sandra Isidora, who was totally involved in the Black liberation movement. Fela, whose mother was very political, very advanced, she fought against anti-colonial campaign, fought for women's rights, was the first woman in the town of Abeokuta to drive a car, so very advanced and a teacher, very advanced woman, gave all that information to Fela, but as a child growing up, it was in his mind, but it was not in his practice, in his sensitivity. But when he got to Los Angeles, he was about 25, I think, I'm not quite sure, but he was an adult. He met Sandra Isidora, who was involved with the Black liberation movement. She just flooded him with sex and books. So you know you can learn a lot of stuff when you land up with a person, right? So he began to read and study and analyze Malcolm X, Kwame Ture, H. Rap Brown, W.B. Du Bois, Marcus Garvey. All this stuff began to sink in his mind, and his mother's information came back to him. So he left. He stayed in LA for like 10 months, and he did a couple of recordings called the LA Sessions. But then he left and he organized a band called then Africa 70, Gaining Consciousness. Nigeria 70, Gaining Consciousness. He went back to Nigeria with this whole new sense. But then he ran into some people who had heard James Brown. So he had organized his whole band together because he had competition from this guy named Geraldo Pena in Ghana. So Fela organized his band based upon soul and funk. He heard James Brown's music. In fact, he knew James. James and Fela was kind of like rivals, let's say playful rivals. James went to Nigeria and met him. He had traveled to New York, not to New York, but California, and met James. There was interaction and appreciation, but there was also a little bit of rivalry. Now, when Fela got to Nigeria and organized his band, again, political organizer, the music, like Fanon's works and Du Bois's works, as the brother says, was for the elevation and protection of his people. Now in '77, if you want to continue, in '77, when FESTAC took place, there was a 1,000 military raid on...
Let me ask you to step back. FESTAC. Now everybody knows what you're talking about.
Okay, FESTAC, in 1977, Nigeria organized a month-long celebration of African art in Lagos, Nigeria. Black artists from around the world came to FESTAC for this entire month. Now, it was organized by the military regime at that time. And then Fela was against FESTAC because he thought it was a military sham to placate the masses. So he did not attend, although he had an anti-FESTAC festival at the shrine, night after night after night, and many people came. My brother, Ayuko Babu, he had brought Stevie Wonder. Took him a year to organize Stevie to go to Festac, and they went to the shrine. Also, Farrakhan, Mr. Farrakhan was also there, as well as many other people. But this is like a melting pot against, a melting place against the military regime that had been oppressing Fela and the population for decades and decades.
Let me interrupt you.
Yes.
Because I wanna kind of contextualize this in ways that people might relate to it today, right? So you talked a little bit about James Brown. We think about James Brown, we think about Public Enemy. We think about Boogie Down Productions. We think about conscious music today, even on the jazz scene, right? And there's a album, there's a documentary in South Africa called something about the music and Amandla, yes, which is a beautiful documentary that shows the impact of the music on the movement in South Africa.
Right.
So I want the two of you to maybe kind of give some insight about both what you've seen that the music can do about the movement, and what do you think is the possibility of music today and culture, as you see it, informing a movement today? Because like at a bunch of, even in my daughter's school today, they have protests on college campuses all over the place. We didn't have them here, but we will wake some young folks up. You all hear about it elsewhere. But they had these protests on these college campuses because people were enraged about what happened. And so that, how do you think that those things work together?
Well, first of all, this is really such a perfect time to be able to speak about Fela and really give in the opportunity on November the 9th, exactly the same day that we found out this news. And so really the awakening, Fela coming in here in the United States in terms of the African liberation movement. So we were very, very involved with the African liberation movement in the 50s into the 60s. And coming into the late 60s, where you have all the Pan-African kind of thought mentality, but we're looking at like the national. When we're looking at the Panthers and what the Panthers were doing and how they were coming, the Panther Party had Yoruba people that they had kind of adopted at some point in time the Yoruba faith as part of their kind of spiritual end to try to coordinate.
Well, let me stop you there, because I don't think everybody knows what that means. What is the significance of that, though? What is when you say the Yoruba faith? What does that even mean? What do you mean the Yoruba faith?
Well, the Yoruba faith. When we're talking about the Yoruba faith, we're talking about traditional African religion. And so when I'm talking about the Yoruba faith, we're talking about the deities like Elegba, Ogun, talking about Yemonja, Oshun, so Shango. Some of these names people may have become familiar with, or maybe, in some ways have heard. But one of the things is that the deities, the forces of Africa, were a way of being able to integrate African liberation. And I think in the same type of way that Fela took some of these ideas and these principles and did the same kind of thing. But I think his mother was primarily instrumental in being able to influence that because of her independent spirit, as also her, coming from the place in Nigeria where they're Abeokuta, where it's very, very largely a Yemonja town, and Ogun is very popular there, and all the different African deities. And so traditional African religion being really at the forefront of really existence. Fela Kuti initially was speaking, his music was all in Yoruba at one point in time. And so at some point in time, then he had to make the transition from being in Yoruba to coming into English so that he could reach a greater masses of people. So that, the music started to influence more people. But one of the things is that when we look at, again, what you talked about having influence through your culture. If your culture does not speak to revolution, if your culture and your doesn't speak about changes or putting into some type of change and putting some effects to changes, then what is it? And so that was a really big point for Fela, that like the brother was saying, that he was a Pan-Africanist. And so he wasn't a musician, he used it as a tool. That was his key. That was his key to open up the door so that he could have conversation. His key to that he could then have expression, and that he could be heard. Music has always been used in that way. Music has been very, very instrumental in not only changing our minds and changing our bodies and our thought. The African drum was how many of us came to African spirituality. In the 60s and in the early 60s and straight on through African spirituality, the drum. So the music is really so important in getting us there.
Again, very clear, Fela had a tune called "Music is the Weapon." Music is the weapon, and he understood his power and his influence. But again, Fela being an ancestor, but extremely important is that we face a monumental challenge in this country and in this world right now. So we have to pull our legacy together and get our quote-unquote together, because there's going to be, I feel, an onslaught of negativity for folks that did not support extreme right-wing ideology. So it's very incumbent upon us at this point to be organized. As Kwame Ture said, Stokely Carmichael, we're not outnumbered, we are out-organized. So organization is key. Not any kind of organization, you must have values, but you cannot be a revolutionary reserve. You cannot be a lone wolf. You cannot be out there by yourself. You must be organized for protection. Again, there was a lot of about music. Fela used music as an organizational tool. He had all these wives that people thought were like prostitutes or loose women. Fela married these women to protect them, to bring them. They were never in the streets, but to bring them away from criticism. They were all his wives. They all had responsible positions and responsibility, and added to the family. These were not loose women. He built, again, the two organizations. He built a musical organization that spawned 4 or 5 different bands. And the bands would change as his political consciousness elevated. So music was his organizational tool, because he was not building, quote unquote, a military army, but he talked about army arrangements, because he understood the military force. So music was very important as a tool.
I want to add something that when he was here, actually I saw him in concert at the University of California in Santa Cruz. Well, I was at the University of California in Santa Cruz, but he came and did a concert in Santa Cruz. Right. And and I think back at that time that Fela was, when you see him on stage and the whole drama of it, I think that that's another piece to it, right? So that he had this mystique about him, and that his production had mystique about it, and that it informed us to think about things, because it wasn't just him, that he had his band was 50, 60 people deep.
70.
70, right. That's right. So the band that said 70 meant that he had 70 people in his band. When it was 40 people in the band. And so when you think about someone traveling with that many musicians, that many people, that's an amazing feat, first of all. And then to have all those people in concert, if you will, thinking about both the mission and the music simultaneously, that means that he had a group of folks, not only that they were being paid, but they understood the whys and hows to do the things that Fela was about. And so I want you all to think about those things that we think about today, is what are the whys and hows of what we do today, and how can we encourage folks who are musicians, whether they're in R&B or rap or reggae or whatever, to think about both the message and the spirit within the music, so that it's not just creating noise. And I don't care what genre it is. Sometimes we just have noise, but we want to change that noise into something of power. And how do we change conscientize ourselves to begin to think about power, right? In our voice, and our voice means many things. It means about how we do what we do when we write, how we do what we do when we speak to each other. All these things are important. I think that some of those things are what Fela was about. Although some of the times, you look at Fela and his stuff was he was a musical artist, so he did the things that musical artists do. But then we have to contextualize that within the context of where we are today and how we move forward. So I want to open it up to the audience, and you all have a chance to comment. But I want to see if you guys had any other comments you want to make before I open it up.
Yes. Again, Fela was all about organizing. He, at the shrine, each night had a different theme. And it was all about who you were, where you needed to be organized in a committee, a group, never an individual. So it was all about pulling together. Again, people did get paid, but the money for the band was not that primary. The family was primary collectively. Everybody did certain things. Fela had, Fela's mother was killed. She died of her injuries from the Nigerian soldier raid on the Calacuta Republic. When she died, he took her body to the military. They said that the people that came to his house was an unknown soldier. So Fela created a tune called Unknown Soldier and took his mother's body in a coffin to the military barracks and sung the song and dedicated it to his mother. He took every opportunity to politicize it for the betterment and not the sorrow. So I'm saying we can take this, to me, this lull, this devastating blow we got yesterday and turn it around. We cannot just pull back into grief and misery and defeatism. We have to turn that energy around, especially doing Amiri Barak, all the work he's been doing forever to turn that energy around to rebuild. But we have to look for protection and organization.
Yeah, and again, Fela's thing was, as far as Africa is concerned, that if the music, it was not a place for enjoyable. The music couldn't be enjoyable. It had to be about revolution, and it had to stand for something. So if anything that he was going to be saying, or all the songs and the lyrics that that were being described, if you take a look at some of all the lyrics are very, very specific in terms of either events or speaking against the government or speaking against the military regime of Nigeria and how it was affecting and really going down on the people and keeping the people from being uplifted. And so this is something where we had here, as well as it has gone through its turns and twists and turns. We've had music here in the United States. Us African Americans have used music as a tool. The blues and how it talked about sorrow, and and when we talked about rap was coming out, and rap had a lot of an initial in the forefront of some of the things that were going on with rap. So the music is always going to be a big part about leadership and where it's going to take us. And those rhythms always have a very a unique way of having effect on our soul, because music is not only a topical thing; it gets inside of our soul. And so it's just like the most classical thing that you. So when you have that particular beat, there's a beat, and Africans had a very, very clear understanding of what beat could move people. It could make you move, or it could make you activate. And in this particular rhythm that I just played is a rhythm that is dedicated to a deity we call Ogun. And that is a warrior kind of energy. So there's some rhythms that are going to make you fight, some rhythms that are going to make you think, and some rhythms that are going to make you act. And his music was making you act. Your body started to move. So if your body started to move, the spirit is starting to be activated, right? And that activation of that movement of your spirit then starts to making, and then like as Dr. Kalfani says, he could be playing maybe 5 to 8 minutes, and then boom, after everything is activated, now he's inserting what he's really trying to get, the message. You know, so when you're thinking you're there partying and you're just ridden, then you get rid with this message, and the message is being played over and over. And it's not only in his voice, it's all the ladies' voice. So whether you're going to be affected by the high notes or the low notes, you had both of them coming at you simultaneously. So, you know, it's very, very poignant, the music.
Fela also had a tune called Authority Stealing. I haven't heard that type of title in any kind of U.S. tune, Authority Stealing, except out of rap, Authority Stealing. This is about the corruption in the military government, and he got thoroughly criticized, arrested, and beat behind that, and another tune called Zombie.
Right.
Again, Fela looked for cracks, looked for openings that he could insert his influence in Nigerian government and throughout the world. Now, Fela, contrasting Fela with Bob Marley. Bob Marley was also a political animal and a social animal and known worldwide. But Bob toured the country, toured the world constantly while he was alive. Fela didn't do that much touring. He stayed in Nigeria to fight the government. So Fela, in essence, was a lot more courageous and brave and strong in terms of staying there as opposed to fleeing around the world. Not to dismiss Bob Marley, who was great also, but Fela was courageous in his attack and his approach.
And relentless, because every night he was playing. And like you said, he had different themes that was playing, and they would do that in the middle of the night. So it would be 1 o'clock in the morning. I mean, you know, and they would play what, up to 10 and 10 the next day, but sometimes 1 o'clock the next day.
Yeah.
So you know, so here you think it is a time for you to sleep or something like that, and you hear this man going, and from what I remember hearing, that he would practice during the day, then would sleep for a little while, and then wake up in the middle of the night. So, you know.
Fela, like John Coltrane, again, constantly played, constantly practiced. And an interesting story is that brother just told me that Kwame Olatunji, one of his close friends, John Coltrane lived across the hallway from Kwame. Wow. And so I was in love with Train and his music. And so I asked Kwame about Coltrane. And Kwame says, well, he's just a nice guy that lives across the hallway. you know. But that was the kind of relationship that Olatunji brought to the African American world here in the city. Fela, you know, when he, Fela was a traditional man and also an advanced person. But on one level, his tradition did not filter out the quote-unquote negative or destructive aspects of the tradition. For example, he didn't believe in condoms, which led to his destruction. He didn't believe in loose women. He brought them to the house. But you got to balance that out with reason. So tradition is good, but you got to deal with what is going to be the consequence of like genital mutilation. So we cannot just embrace tradition. We have to filter it in terms of what's going to be uplifting and life-affirming. Another point about Yoruba religion is in Cuba. Yoruba religion helped the black African Cubans sustain life against white Cuban racism the whole time of the Cuban experience. Yoruba is very pure in the Oriental province of Cuba, maintaining itself. So Yoruba spirituality has been a guiding principle for black folks surviving slavery, Middle Passage, and now in this contemporary society. So we cannot dismiss spirituality, but it must be coupled as an active movement and not a passive waiting on Jesus, waiting on the Christ child.
So let me say something with regard to that. One of the things that we've done here is that last year, and Bobby, you participated in Dr. to be, also participated in our program we had called the African Spirituality Conference, which we're going to be having again in March of next year. And so that those things provide us with opportunities to look at the connection between different spiritual systems within the African pantheon and all our various ideas from West Africa to East Africa to the diaspora. And then we begin to then see ways in which we use those things as tools to further our agenda as people, to further our ideas, to further our cultural stance and foundation, and to uplift us in the face of strong adversity. And the one thing I want to say about that is that also that when we bring that over to right here in Newark, we would be remiss. You hinted at Amir Baraka, but I want to just bring Amir in a little more seriously, because when we think about the city of Newark and African people in America, that you have someone here who is an ancestor now, but you know, he was here with a lot of programs we did here on campus, and he was someone who challenged the very foundations of the ways in which the powers that be operate against us as people of African descent. And he would confront that in every strong way possible. And we need to think about, how do we confront things today? And it's not just about Trump. See, sometimes we want to get lost in the sauce, if you will, because it's not just about him becoming president or president-elect. It's about what is it that we as people of African descent want? What is it that we aspire to do, and how do we work to bring about those things that we think need to happen? So I wrote this book called The Hidden Debate, and in there I talk about that one of the challenges for us is that the ideas of liberty, equality, and justice, we operate on other people's ideas of those things, and we need to define them for ourselves and to begin to operate on our own definition process, because it is a process that we come together collectively and build consensus on something, and then we develop a process about how we are going to move forward. And until we begin to do those things, that we will have a Trump today and it'll be somebody else tomorrow. We can't just think about it in ways that it's just an individual, but that there's things out there, there's ideas that we have to confront those ideas and figure out how we move forward. And so that when you talk about the spirit piece, that always has been a base for us. And that I think that we need to tap into that in the most powerful ways so that we can utilize that as a strength. And when we look at Amir Baraka, his ideas about culture and spirit are complex. And he would confront the very fundamental things. Think about it, he was the poet laureate of the state of New Jersey, and he wrote a poem called "Somebody Blew Up America." Right? And then because of that fire that was on there, they couldn't fire him from that. They couldn't remove it. So they actually got rid of the whole poet laureate. There are no poet laureates. He was the first and last poet laureate in the state of New Jersey. Because to undo it, they had to get rid of the whole concept. Think about the power, the fear that he invoked upon people in that way. And so we have to think about, what is it that we want to do today? How can young folks use the things that they know to transform the world in which we're in? And I think there's some of the things they're talking about, and the things that Fela did, the courage that they had. And the last thing I want to say is about Derek Bell. If you don't know Derek Bell's work, he wrote a book called Ethical Ambitions. And I'm encouraging you to read that book. Because Derek Bell, he was a great constitutional lawyer. But in Ethical Ambitions, he raises a question. He says, how do I maintain my integrity while seeking success? How do I maintain my integrity while seeking success? Well, he says the first thing is that you have to have courage. You have to have passion. You have to have humility. You have to be willing to take risks. And that you have to realize that your success is not based on you as an individual, but that your success is about the success of the group moving forward. And when you think about it that way, that then you can move the agenda forward in powerful ways that are unrelenting, in powerful ways that transform the world around you and the ether around you, not just you as an individual, but the entire ether in the air, and then that's a movement. Right? Because that's what Trump said, right? He said that there was that his campaign was not about a campaign, but that it was a movement. Well, what is your movement? What is our movement? What is the movement that's going to be the response to sexism, to the response to racism, to the response of all these things that we know and see that are possibly to be coming, but that we haven't had a response that's collective and that has a momentum behind it that will change the world in which we live, so that we allow things to happen because we haven't had that organized, concerted effort. And we need to have an organized, concerted effort if we want to have sustained change where we have our own ideas about liberty, equality, and justice at the forefront of the table.
And what are our ideas? And our ideas, we fabricate our ideas from what? Our culture. And our culture is the only thing that's going to save us. And so us as a people, we have to know our culture. We have to know who we are. And if we don't have a sense of who we are, and our religious beliefs are, we gather our sense of ethics, our sense of right and wrong from religious beliefs, right? So the idea of knowing, what your cultural base is, or, this is where we have such a level of disconnect because of what we want and how we want things would come through knowing what would our religion, what will our culture, what will our deities, what will they speak to us, how will they speak to us, and what is a right and wrong. There's not no sense, kids do not come out knowing what is right or wrong. They are taught by their elders, right? And so here is our responsibility as elders to say that what we want our kids to then perform. What do we want them to act out? How do they act? And so now here, Dr. Kalfani was talking about how there was protest on the campuses, right? So they're protesting on the campuses about a result. But the idea is that the action or the direction needs to be directed by their elders saying, no, this is what we've done in the past. This is what has worked in the past. And this is how you should proceed. And that you, as a movement, as a revolution, are going to need a cultural, a spiritual, and a political plan to move forward. And if you do not couple all those things together, you will surely fail. This idea of really putting together a revolution, or a revolution, whether it's going to be musical revolution, there's going to be a political revolution, there's going to be a spiritual revolution, it's going to be a need to be a holistic revolution that's going to encompass all of those things, right? And it's going to need the energy and the direction of eldership. So this is the idea in Yoruba spirituality, the idea of eldership is so paramount in terms of going to the next place, right? And it's not written down. It is told to one from one voice to one's ears. So one voice into two ears, and the senses then are going to be taken on. So yes, we need to make sure that our children are being directed, and I'm very proud to see there's a child here, because even in spite of everything, she may not know why she's here or what's going to happen, but some words, some ideas, some of the music that she's being exposed at some point in time later on, that then comes back. It comes and it creeps up because it's ingrained in the moral, in her blood. Something that I remember going to a lecture, and this was being said. And so I must then, even if it's subtly being affected, we are being affected by the messages that are being given. And hopefully, this is going to take some root.
It's the Haitian voodoo.
Yes, all right.
We also have
Haitian voodoo. Ayo bobo. Yes, the drums. Okay. And she's involved with that? You are. Good. Good. And that's Haiti is very, very important. And just in terms of us really, talking about liberation of people, and particularly African people here in the diaspora. So we owe Haiti as well as Jamaica and all of the islands, but Haiti in particular, where they allow for anybody who would get there to be free.
Yeah, I think we should also understand that Haiti is our country. That is a black people's country. Liberia is our country, and we need to be about developing those things, not shying away from them. Again, we're talking about a value system, a value system. Fela was very influenced by the black diaspora. Folks here in America, black America, gave Fela a lot of energy and a lot of insight. Fela had heard different musicians, different jazz musicians. We had never saw these people like Miles Davis and Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie. But when he was here, we were able to show him the videos of these people. Fela grabbed his instrument and wanted to play along with the video because he was inspired by the black American psyche, the black American aesthetic. So we have to have this cultural change. Fela was the bridge. He came over, nourished us, and we nourished him. We have to sustain that ongoing, back and forth. Brother just got back from Nigeria. We must travel. Children must travel to understand there are alternatives to this system. This is not the only place that we are captured in, but we can move worldwide, especially now, we can move worldwide, either through cyber or physical, and we must educate, expand ourselves, because this storm, I feel, is coming.
And, so at this time, I want to take any comments or questions from the audience. Anybody have anything want to say? Yes, this is Dr. Stepla Johnson. She's the Dean of Liberal Arts here at Essex County College. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for being here for your documentary. I just wanted to talk about the song Zombie. I've been reflecting on that over the last few days, and I am going to go see the performance.
I said, thank you for being here and for your presentation in the documentary. I will be seeing the performance at NJPAC next week. Over the last few days, I've been reflecting about the song Zombie, and I think that that is a very significant song because it talks about how people fall into a routine, such a routine that they're not really reflecting and not really alive, not really living, not thinking about what they're doing. And we have our Black Lives Matter movement, and we have the phrase, stay woke. But there are people who cannot stay woke because they're not awoke, so they can't stay woke. And I think that gives direction to the types of work that needs to be done in talking about our elders and the family and what we teach the children and our ancestors and remembering our ancestors and calling their names and remembering the lessons that they instilled in us and the values about relating to the earth, relating to each other. So I just think that gives direction. And I know you mentioned the song Zombie, and I would like to know if you could just give more reflection about the importance and significance of that song and the whole concept of a zombie.
Yes. When the song Zombie came out,
I just wanted to play a little bit.
All right. Zombie came out during Festac, and it was about the military. Again, that they were like single-minded, controlled, non-thinking, which is why they attacked the Calicut Republic. So Fela was very critical of this kind of, very critical of this non-thinking attitude. I think Brother's work with sculpture is very important because he's writing in stone, sustaining the information. Fela was in the same kind of thing to maintain. Zombie got him into a lot of trouble, which ultimately led to the attack. But over time, everybody in Nigeria was singing this, all the youth were singing the song, which infuriated the powers that be. And that's why they came down on him. Again, he did not write frivolous stuff. He only wrote music that was going to move people, was going to make things happen, or criticize corruption, mismanagement, thievery. So Zombie was kind of the pivotal point at that time and changed a lot of things.
Thank you. You know, first of all, we talk about Haiti and we talk about Boukman and talking about how the use of zombies. You know, the idea that they were using farm tools and to be able to fight against the military, some of the greatest military regimes at the time in the 1800s, right? So we're talking about where they fought off the Spanish, and they fought off the English, and they fought off the French, of course, which is, you know, all of their, of course, the English thought they were going to be able to destroy them. But they called upon their ancestors. And this idea of calling upon our ancestors and the spirits of our ancestors, and you know, in the Congo used to use the skulls of their ancestors, and they would worship them. You know, not worship, they would venerate them. The idea of ancestral veneration is so very important. And they would invoke the spirits to come back alive, to come and fight, you know. And there were people, you know, African things. You know, when we talk about dealing with a revolution, and we're talking about being on equal footing, a brother today asked me as I walked here into the college, he was like, okay, brother, I know you're a diviner, you somebody who's into, you know, you're close with God. Tell me what happened yesterday. I said, what happened yesterday? Why are you surprised? You forgot where you're living? You forgot who the people you're living with? You got to know who you're at. You have to realize that this is nothing more than what it needs to be for you to wake up. You forgot where you were living? They're taking you down. They've been killing you. This is a status quo. Like Dr. Kofani said, this is not just about today. This is not about last night. It's not about this presidency. Look how many people they've been killing this year. How many of us have died? Now, it used to be a time we would just see, you know, this idea of this black men, but it's black women, it's the children, it's elders. It's not this. It's indiscriminate about us being a target. And the only thing that we have as a people to be in our defense is our magic. You see, our magic, us as a people, we have magic, and our belief in our spirits are our magic. To be able to invoke and to be able to uplift and to call, you know, Baron Samdi, calling Ogun, Papa Ogun, calling Legba, to call, you know, Dentor, to be able to call, you know, the Fulta, to call the Netara, to call the Gru. We start to calling these forces that are now, we're forgetting our languages. Like the brother said, I'm lucky, and he's lucky enough to know his language. Lucky enough to know his language and to have a connection to his land. So there's a land and there's a language, and he has a connection to that, and he has pride. You see, there's a pride sense that is really goes again to that. There's a pride that is associated with knowing your language, knowing your people, knowing your race, where you belong, you know, and where are we going to stick together? Who do we come together with? Like you said, in this particular form, yeah, we come together, but we need to be able to get other people to come together. We need to touch them with the Spirit. You know, as you know, you go to, as in the Christian church, you used to see the people, and they get touched with the Spirit, and they start to move it, right? Because once you get touched with the Spirit, you don't have a choice but to move. And so that's what the importance of the spirituality is, because it is a spark. It is a spark. When the rest of the people are waiting for God to come, African people are becoming God. And that's really what it is. God is coming in and entering us. And so that's where the Haitian people then became bulletproof. What? No weapons will be able to prosper that come against us because of the force of God that's inside of us. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not afraid to die. I'm not afraid to go against whatever they have. Because one thing is for sure, in a revolution, we cannot match them power for power at this point. There's no way. So the only thing that we have is our God, our connectivity to our gods. We have to wake them up, keep them awake, and keep them on guard.
Ashe, ashe. right? So those are some of the things that we need to think about, right? That there's connections to that. You know, when you talk about, you ask about what is the connection to Haiti, well, the impact of Haiti, the liberation in 1804, was that it sent a reverberation throughout all of the places where folks were enslaved. That it said to Europeans that, oh, we can't necessarily win all the time. We've got to do something different. So therefore, the impact it had in all of the islands in South America and the United States was that the enslavement process became twice as bad, right? Because they made sure that the connections that were happening between Africans who were the merchant marines who were traveling and dealing on ships, that they couldn't relate to one another anymore. They didn't, because that was how we traveled and spread things. And even later on, many years later, with the Garvey movement, that's how the Garvey movement spread. Is that Garvey, his organization, even to this day, is the biggest organization of Africans around the world. Right? They had millions of people in the Garvey organization, and they had a paper that was spread all around the world, but there was no internet. There was no telephone that they could fax something through. There was no cell phones. But yet and still they communicated, because people would take the paper and the papers would be read 5, 6, 7 times. That is, that you finish the paper, you give it to somebody else, and you give it to somebody else, and you give it to somebody else, and that process made sure that I didn't need 1 million copies, right? We had our own Facebook page back then. We had our own people who we liked, right? And so that then those technologies that we used are things that enable us to transform the world around us. And we need to go back to those things. And I want to ask you real quick that we're look at our time. So that one of the things that this discussion has engendered is that the energy here is that we need to pour libations. Can you do it? Sure. You can right there, and there's a plant behind us. It's not a real plant, but you know it'll serve the purpose. It's concrete in the bottom. So see, because libations is a process for that we do that helps us to bring the presence of our those who've gone before us with us, and acknowledges the presence of them that is already here. Make sure that they know that we know, and that we know that they know that they're here. And so, as someone who is an expert in that regard, I ask Baba to do that for us.
I'm just going to pour it on here,
Okay.
and I won't pour much. We're going to speak a little bit in Yoruba, and then, we give praise to Mojuba Lutumare, Sumole, Rumole, Mojuba, Wina, Vunele, Koko Teko, Aninisa, Mojuba Luderu, Mojuba Oba, Sheka, Maku, Mojuba O Yigi O Tariku, Mojuba Obalone, Obalona, Oba Titi Lai, Mojuba Kiti Biri Pojo, Ekuda, Mojuba Ilaru Iworu, Ariwa Eba Gusu, Iba Rumole Jokotun, Iba Rumole Jokosi, Iba Bobo, Risha Pata Agbaye, Bobo Egungu Amini, Bobo Egun, all of our ancestors collectively that are here, and we give praise to Olodumare. Olodumare is God, that which covers the outer realms of the universe, the cosmos, the darkness, the one who is the owner of the great Dumare, the great darkness, and from which all the energies that come to being and come here at this point, we give praise to who is the owner of heaven, the owner of, and the Lord and the King of the world, King of both the heavens and the world. We give praise to Olodumare, who all the Irumole, the Agba Mole, exist to know his laws and command, originated and created all things discovered and yet to be discovered. We give praise to the great diviners, to ones who then divine our futures and our destinies and give us a sense of where we should go and our mission in our lives and our passions. Because you know, if we don't know our destiny, we need to find what we are passionate about. And our passions will direct us to our destinies. And so today we ask, whatever you are passionate about, that this passion will continue to be sparked. Whether you are passionate about art, if you're passionate about music, if you're passionate about love, if you're passionate about taking photographs, if you're passionate about taking pictures through film, and that medium, or whatever medium you choose to use, my medium is, I'm passionate about prayer, and I'm passionate about God, and I'm passionate about sharing what I learn about God with those who I meet. And so today I'm sharing and hoping that you will feel the spirit of Olodumare, of our ancestors, of our deities, our principles, and that the lump is the bone of the pounded yam, the cob is the bone of the maize. To speak so after the bone, after verification, is the bone of truthfulness. And the truth is the truth, no matter the duration of time, and it cannot be submerged. And for this reason, let us all remain truthful. And so the truth today is our deities are still alive. The truth today is that our forces are still alive. The truth today is that it is the north, east, west, and south, and wherever you have come from to come to this point today, that they are affecting you. They are directing you. They are uplifting you. And that they will continue even in your absence of knowledge of them. But how much better is it to then be awakened and know them? And in spirit and in truth, may you know them, and may they direct you and guide you to your truth, your passion, your love, and eventually to your freedom. Ashe.
And you know, so some of you here may be like, well, why are we doing this? And I want to explain that the connection here is that if you think about Fela and his music, that here is someone who is would see at the core of his foundation that type of spirituality. Right, that type of reflection on who he is and where he fits within the context of his humanness, where he fits within the context of the world in which we live, so that he then can give back something for someone who gave to him. And his understanding of it was in the vein of that type of a libation, that type of a calling and reflecting upon those energies and spirits that are here and divine. And through his mother, if you saw the play, that his connection to his mother was someone who helped him to get to that place. And speaking of which, I want to say hello to my parents, my mother and my father and my mother-in-law. There I am back over there. And my daughter is over there. And so I want to thank them all for joining me. They're here from California, and my mother-in-law lives here. My mother and father live in Los Angeles. So I'm glad that they're able to make it here today and have a time to see some of what we do here at Essex County College, and they'll take it back, and then we'll have people coming from California out here.
All right.
Yes, you want to make one more comment? And,
Right.
and any other questions? Anybody else had a question or a comment? Okay, yes.
I think it's important that we support each other, support black art, support black efforts. There's a brother named David Rudder, who wrote a tune called Haiti, I'm Sorry, because he felt that we as a people did not come and embrace Haiti enough over time to sustain it. So we cannot be uninvolved. Two recent examples: this film by Nate Parker called Birth of a Nation, and this other film called Queen of Katwe, about this young girl, chess player. These are very wholesome films, very politically important films, but were not supported and sustained right now, today. made very little money. It's not about money, it's about seeing these films. And if films do not make money, there will not be another one made. Nate Parker was criticized as a person. Forget Nate Parker. Let's talk about Nat Turner and the importance of that film.
That's right.
Number one. The other film, Queen of Katwe, anyone who's seen it, this is a very wholesome film, non-violent, no negativity towards white people. It's about women's empowerment, child development. Again, it was not supported like, you know, Tyler Perry or whoever, you know what I'm saying? We have to change that dynamic. Haiti is very important. Haiti is very important because it's 4 hours away. Africa is 8 or 9 hours away. We need refuge. Haiti is, we're connected. Let's build that connection.
Speaking of, I'll take a question once again. Speaking of that, that we here at the college, we're actually accepting donations for Haiti. We have a Haiti relief fund for all the for the hurricane Matthew. And so that we want to make sure that if folks want to contribute, that you're welcome to do so. And that we then can help to, you know, I've been meeting with the brother who's the mayor down in Toms River, his brother from Haiti, Mayor Champagne, and we're working to get some things set up in terms of how we're going to get those funds directly to folks.
Own where you work, where you live, where you teach. You know, we have to have our own schools. My goddaughter from Lyon there, she's always talking about, you know, we need our own schools. You know, in Nigeria, I was in Nigeria about a week and a half ago. I just came back. I was there in July, and then I was there just a week and a half ago. Prior to that, the kind of energy that was, you know, just emanating there kept me away. Just the amount of, being afraid of disease and being afraid of, you know, the military, people, you know, are trying to corrupt or anything like that. So we have that issue here among us that after a certain part, we get to a place where it starts to move in good, and then we start breaking apart. We start breaking apart because of untrust. But we have to, first of all, begin to trust each other and believe in each other, and we have to own everything that we're doing. Now we have to own the rights to, like, you know, those who became, like, you know, Prince had lost all the rights to his songs. He lost the right to his own name, that he couldn't even use his name. He had to then eventually have to buy back those things. And so now we have to, whatever we're going to put forth, we have to own our communities. We don't own our communities. That's one of the biggest and harshest realities of us, is that we don't own our hospitals. What hospitals do we own? What schools do we own? And if the schools are just their first, you know, primary school, elementary school, we need to have elementary schools. We need to have colleges. We need to be able to own those things. We need to be able to structure our teachers so that we don't have somebody like you who doesn't want to be pushed out after 42 years, who has all this knowledge and all this information that she could share. And not only that, to be a mentor to all these other teachers, because you're an experience and the wealth and the knowledge that you have to have given to the community, and knowing how to teach black people, right? Because no one can talk to my people better than I can, because I know what their experience is. And so then who better to be able to teach the next teachers coming up? You should be a teacher of teachers. You know, after 42 years, oh my goodness, you know, they should be honoring you or wanting you just to show them what to do or how to do it. And so this is where until we start to really, first, like you said, it comes with the family in the first. We need houses. What are we going to do? What is you own the block? We have to own the block. Next house that somebody's selling, that house cannot be sold unless it's going to be sold to somebody in our family. And that family then, the next family, and so on and so forth, and brothers and sisters, you know, our families are spread apart. This one is here in North Carolina, that one is in Florida, the other one is up in Canada, somebody's down and, you know, went to Switzerland. You know, this is where we have to pool our resources, pool our energies together, and have a sense of what what are you going to do to be a part of the family? And see, and that's one of the things that was going on with Fela. He had these extended family. This idea of polygamy, is really something in particular which people kind of shun, and they get this, oh no, we can't have that. No, we can take all parts of the culture. We can't have the polygamy aspect of culture. But there's a function in terms of functionality, in terms of families, of pulling together pools of resources, pulling together food, and so now the child doesn't grow up with one mother, it grows up with 3 mothers, right? And they become mother, and they all become mother. And so all the children become all the family's children. And so now whoever has either resources or have education or have specialization and the tools, you're going to be able to notice that one child is going to be able to be drawn to sometimes even just because the child is your own, don't mean that child is going to be loving and really responsive to you. So there's this whole idea that we have to look among ourselves, but we have to own. We don't own ourselves. We have to own what we produce and how we produce. And we have to own food. That's really what we have to be very, very conscious about raising our families on wholesome and good food.
I would also add to that the question of state power. We do not have state power. Every African country has state power because it's an independent country. We have to build those allowances so that if something happens to a Jewish person over here, they can rally 10,000 Jews in Israel to come and support that person. We have to have that same type of connection. We have to build those alliances, and it will take some time, not forever, but we have to think about that. And the last 10 or 20 years, more and more black people are traveling back and forth, building individual connections on the continent. Those, again, the State Department used to have those kinds of alliances. They would send Dizzy Gillespie on tour to create this illusion that America is going to do something for you, and therefore undercut black activity. We have to have state power connected to South Africa, to Nigeria, to Liberia, so on and so forth. Without state power, we just kind of like, I agree with
Cuba, to Haiti,
exactly.
to Jamaica.
Ownership, what Brother says, is absolutely correct. Ownership and those alliances need to be built.
Thank you. This will be the last question, and I don't want you all to leave without going to the shrine. We built the shrine in the cafeteria, our own version there.
Right.
And so we want you all to experience the shrine and the music of Fela, so that you can get your, the vibration and the movement and the essence of it moving and flowing through you. So don't go anywhere. And as you guys say your response to that, let that be your whatever you want to wrap up with as well. And so that I would say that on building trust, first we have to realize that we've had that, right? If we start from a deficit model, then we're destined to fail before we begin. We got to go back to the beginnings of the beginnings of the beginnings. We can't start our understandings about our relationships to one another looking at slavery and enslavement and have a slave mentality about where we're going to go. That if we look at and understand that we were the progenitors and all the progenitors of thought, we're the progenitors of writing, we're the progenitors of the idea of working together. The pyramids were built because people worked together. People I learned recently that we talk about the Great Wall of China, but there's a wall in Benin that's 4,000 miles. It's older and longer than the Great Wall of China, and it's still there today. So that didn't happen because people didn't have trust, didn't have the ability to work together. We have to just go back. The ancestors and the elders tell us that this life is one of remembering. All the things that we need to know, that we already know it. And then when you have that aha moment, that synaptic nerve that gets connected, that epiphany, that's something that you already know, connecting with where you are today. And then the light bulb goes on because you're connecting with something that's already there. And so that remembering is something that, how do we do that? So that when somebody, when somebody says something that you think you can't trust, it, okay, you have to be the first one. We have to be able to take the first overture to trust. And that means we have to be vulnerable. You know, it's like being in a relationship with a man or a woman. Whatever your relationship is, you have to have a trust that that person is going to. And sometimes you get burnt, but because you get burnt, do you stop? We have to realize that it's an ongoing thing, and we have to continue. And that Rosewood, as you mentioned, Black Wall Street, those are examples, successful examples of what you're asking for. So we have them, and they exist. But we have to also realize that in their existence, that there's outside forces that endeavor to undermine them, and that we have to have tools in place that prepare us for the possibility or the probability of someone and some entities endeavoring to undermine that trust. So it's not that the trust just goes out the door, it's that we have a conscious memory of other folks undermining us, and that sometimes we end up doing the same things because we're trying to emulate what folks have done. So Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson is a powerful book, and we need to look back at that, because I think that we need to think about what he said and how we learn the lessons from that so that we can move forward and do the things you're asking.
I think we have to have small successes consistently. That is to say, if I lend you $5, you pay it back in 2 days. If I can trust I can lend you $10, you pay it back in a week. We have to have small, consistent successes over time, and then larger and larger and larger to build that kind of interaction trust, and therefore trust between nations, trust between communities. It's possible, but again, we have been so oppressed in this country, fighting for crumbs, crab in a barrel. This is where this distrust, betrayal, plus we got this whole capitalistic attitude imposed upon us that we think we can get over on someone else. Someone can get over on us. We have to try to wipe out capitalism and racism from our own minds and understand it when we see it, to educate that person or step back from that person. It's a hard, ongoing struggle forever, but small, I would say small successes, and build alliances with state power.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so, you know, of course I'm here because of the spiritual component. And I want to say we need God. You know, we're gonna need that love. You know, and God in that, you know, it said, I better get you ajuba na, I better get you. Adiva funo shono uchi odoro ni koko, awumole nje, tani rubo, tio se selebo, I better get you ajuba na, biyon goyon, tiko ba viti won, iamia, oshuna she, inya wa olemo, boka wa roka, keep to oshuna she. I'm stumbling. What it says is that we need to incorporate, is on a bended knee that we find ourselves to our mothers. And it's an bended knee that we find ourselves that we include Oshun in it. And if we want something to come out fine, we need to include our women in all of what we do. And so the idea is that we need to include God, our gods, in every part of what we do. You see, the idea, as the gentleman said, the capitalistic mold is never going to be one that is going to be liberating enough for us. We're going to need the idea of bartering, and the idea of, well, you can do this, you can bring this to the kids, and I will then give you something in exchange. And so we have to, looking for exchange, value, and for selfless service. You know, sometimes service can be selfless. You know, we're giving it for the purpose of paying it forward. And so I'm paying this now, and my hope is that you will pay it forward.
Let's give them a round of applause, please. I think this has been a fantastic discussion, and I want to thank my partner and our partner here at Essex County College with my sister Donna Walker Kuhn and NJPAC. Let's give them a round of applause, please. And I want to say that as we are wrapping this up, I thank all of you for traveling here from wherever you came. I know some people probably traveled far, Los Angeles. And I want us to be mindful that being here in this place and space that the idea is that we transform the spaces around us, and that we make those types of connections. And so we're here at the Africana Institute, we're developing a trip to Nigeria. And so I want you to stay tuned if you want to travel with us. We're going to be going in August of 2017. We're getting everything in place. We're working slowly but surely, but we are working on it. And we've gone to Ghana. We went to South Africa. So this will be a continuation of our study and experiences abroad. And that all the things that we're doing here are part and parcel of our efforts to transform our minds, transform the ways we think, and for us to then take what we get, what we experience, and then pass that out. Disseminate that to somebody else. So that you touch someone else with the knowledge of anything that was useful and beautiful and beneficial for you here today. I ask that you share that with someone and ask them to share that what you got with someone else. And that's how we do it. You know, it was an old commercial that was, I forget what it was some makeup or something that says, you tell someone, and you tell someone, and so on and so forth. And they had this thing where it was millions of people, and that's how it is. That's how it works. And so we got to touch someone and tell someone and spread the benefits, the experiences, and the love, and then we elevate what we do. Thank you very much. And I want to, for final words, I bring up Donna Walker King. That's all I'm saying tonight. Thank you.
Dr. Kalfani for being a fierce moderator. Thank you so much. Really dynamic gentlemen. Thank you for bringing your perspective and your insight and wisdom.
Thank you.
Yes, and we appreciate the elder wisdom and the idea of passing it forward. So yes, it's very important. And I just wanted to remind everyone, the Fela concert will be in New Jersey Performing Arts Center next Wednesday. We have the 50% off flyers right outside. And if there are any students here in the house tonight, we have a $10 student price. So you can purchase them for $10. So let's go to the shrine and get our Afro beat on.
All right.